The gentle April rain that stained the window panes last night. You're so near and spring is everywhere. We danced until the stars came out and spread across the sky.
Hi friends, tonight for dinner we are making Salisbury steak. I know in the comments anytime I say that, the once or twice that I have, someone says it's Salsbury steak. Well, I say Salisbury steak, so sorry if that is all sorts of wrong, but that's how I say it, and that's what we're having tonight. I'm using this 1 pound package of grass-fed ground beef, and I'm gonna get this into the bowl here, add just a very minimal amount of ingredients. I don't follow the same recipe every time I make Salisbury steak. I just find whatever I think looks good at the moment. I guess maybe I haven't found a recipe that I love or I would have stuck with it. I guess I like them just fine. But let's get this ground beef in here. All right. Ground beef, and I'm gonna add, I have a little bit of this super delicious gourmet, like grainy mustard. I'm gonna add that in. Pretty much no recipe that I saw called for that, but it does call for, like, some of them call for ketchup, some of them call for Worcester. I have just this tiny bit left over in this little cup from some, what we have? Oh, like soft pretzel bites. And I want to use that up, and I think that'll be good flavor in this. I'm going to shake in a little bit of garlic. I'm going to use some of these breadcrumbs, the panko breadcrumbs. I have just a very bit in here. I mean, not even hardly 1/4 of a cup, but I think that's perfect to finish up in this. And then I would normally add onion. A lot of recipes have onion, a lot of recipes don't. But I wanted to find a recipe specifically that used French onion soup. So I just looked at various recipes. I just typed in Salisbury steak with French onion soup. I found a bunch, and I'm just kind of winging it from there. So instead of adding any onion, like fresh chopped onion, I'm gonna leave that off because there's gonna be so much flavor and onions in this soup. All right, I'm pouring just a little bit in there. Just want a smidge. I kind of want to do mushrooms, like fresh mushrooms, which I have with this, but I don't know. If I do the mushrooms, I'll just throw them in the skillet, I guess. So let me do this. This is going to be really salty, so you're going to want to, anytime you use something like this, really hold off on the salt because you can get things too salty really quickly. So, oh, I think I'm going to add an egg. What about that? I'm gonna do a little bit of black pepper. That'll be tasty. Now let me grab an egg. Lots of recipes included egg and lots of recipes didn't, but I think I want to add one. Okay, and then I'm just gonna give this a mix. I'm not in the mood to touch it today, so I'm gonna use my little meat chopper. I don't want to go too crazy on it because I want this to be really tender, and you don't want to overwork your meat or really anything. Sometimes you gotta be careful with overworking things and they might get tough. All right. I do remember one time I followed a recipe. Well, that's the funny part. I thought I was following it and I added water in a spot that I wasn't supposed to add water. It said add water, but it was later. But you know what? It made the most tender patties ever. They were so tender. So that turned out to be a good mistake, but I'm not doing that this time. Okay, look at there. All mixed up and ready to roll. I'm gonna form patties and get these frying up. I'm making just a can of green peas and some mashed potatoes for tonight's dinner for the side. So I'm just gonna let those peas start cooking up, and I'm going to get my potatoes going, and it's going to be delicious. Something about peas and mashed potatoes with something that has gravy on it, that's just something that we really enjoy. Okay, there is very little fat. I mean very little. So I'm not going to do anything with it. I am going to just pour over this soup. And we've got a while before dinner, so I'm going to turn this down to uber low and just let it barely be simmering. And in a little while I'll flip these to make sure it all gets good and coated on these Salisbury steaks. I think this is going to be a really good one. All right, for my peas, I've just gotten those cooked up, and I'm going to put just a tiny bit of salt, tiny bit of pepper, and just a little bit of butter. Sorry for all the shadows. Just a little pat of butter. My husband loves canned peas. That's his favorite. And here it is, all plated up. These were so flavorful, very tender, very delicious, kind of a old school comfort food. If you're looking for a recipe that is really quick to put together, very minimal ingredients, and I would say budget friendly as well, this is definitely one that you want to give a try. These are really flexible, customizable. You can do or not do a lot of various things with these, but if you follow this recipe that I shared, like I said, minimal ingredients, very flavorful from the French onion soup, this was really a winner. Alright, tonight's dinner is brought to you by a half a jar of Classico fire roasted tomato and garlic pasta sauce. I had this in my fridge that needed to be used up, so I found the pasta that also needed to be finished up in my pantry and pulled together this really delicious meal with just ingredients that I needed to use. So cooked up the pasta, added the sauce, finished out the jar with a little bit of water to make sure we had all that yummy pasta sauce in here. Look how good this is. I love these fun shapes of pasta. I also decided to use some Tyson chicken strips. Did those in my air fryer. Just cut those up, not all of them, cut up a couple of them. That's going to go on top of the salad. It's just a really big loaded salad with all the good things in it. And finished off a bottle of dressing with that too. I love finishing up things and moving them along. So that's what we did here in a lot of these different things here. We got finished up. So added this to the salad, and then I just took pasta sauce and topped these remaining chicken tenders with that and cheese, melted that up, and made like a very quick and easy chicken parm of sorts. Serve that alongside the pasta. Of course, the salad was just amazing. So it's good to use up things in your pantry and fridge that need to be used. All right, I am using a package of this egg drop soup mix from Kroger here. You buy this in the aisle where you get all your other Asian type foods that are shelf stable, and this makes a really quick and easy egg drop soup. So you just follow the instructions that are on the back of the packet. Calls for water, some soy sauce, and egg along with the soup mix, and then you can top it with green onions if you want or have those. I did not this night, but you just follow those instructions, basically boil that up, and once it gets boiling, you just use your egg kind of in the same style you would make a scrambled egg, getting it all scrambled up, and then you are going to kind of swirl your water around once it's boiling, or you can just kind of swirl your eggs in there. The idea is not to break them up into really small pieces once you get them into the boiling water. So I usually just kind of let them cook for a minute or two, and then you can go in there and just kind of swirl them around like this. And in no time flat, you have some egg drop soup. Now, it's not as thick and kind of the texture is a little thinner than you get from say a Chinese restaurant or something like that, but it's still very delicious and so quick and easy. I topped mine tonight with these French fried onions, and I just love this. It is so good. I want to make a recipe. If you don't follow Jess and the Boys, that's her channel name, you should follow her. She made one recently using a can of creamed corn. So I think I'm interested to try that one sometime too. But here is what we had the soup with. This was leftover takeout from the night before, and we had so much left over we were able to eat on it again. So I just made up that egg drop soup to go along with these leftovers. It was a really easy and quick meal. On this night, we just had always a crowd pleaser, all-American favorite, BLTs and tomato soup. Look at all the yummy bacon on there. I like to add bacon, lettuce, tomato, onion, cheese, mayonnaise, all the good stuff. I had some of this sprouted bread. I toasted that up. It was so good. And then I just made a can of tomato soup, put a little bit of milk in there, kind of made it creamy, put some Parmesan and black pepper on the top. This meal never disappoints, and we really enjoyed it. Well, I'm certainly the furthest thing from an expert on this next thing that I am making here and showing you, but it turned out really, really good, and I'm going to show you the process, kind of the steps that I went through to make a pot of jambalaya. Started out to be gumbo and then turned into jambalaya. And what I'm learning, I guess the difference is just maybe spice factor on the jambalaya is a little bit spicier. And then if you have jambalaya, you serve the rice in with it, as opposed to gumbo where you serve the gumbo and put the rice kind of on top rather than serving it or cooking it all together. So mine turned out to be a jambalaya, I guess. What I'm showing you here are just all the steps that I went through in browning up the roux. So it's just basically oil and flour, and you just slowly cook that until it goes through these various stages and colors. So you want it to get really, really dark. Of course, it gets thicker, but that's a real important step in authentic gumbo or jambalaya. I wouldn't classify mine as authentic, but I did want to do this step. So you can see here through these various clips that we are just slowly cooking this until it browns and becomes the right color. Here in my pan, I just did a rough chop on some onion. I had a little bit of a red pepper, celery, carrots, and I am just sauteing those together with a little pat of butter. And then I am going to add into this some of this Cajun style andouille smoked sausage. I just cut those into small sort of bite-sized pieces and added those in so they could all kind of cook together. I want to get a little bit of a brown on all of the veggies and the meat before I move on to the next step. For the chicken portion, I am using some frozen chicken soup that I had left over from Takeout Mexican. A friend of ours brought us some of this delicious soup that hit the spot when we were really under the weather. So that has some rice in it, full of delicious spices. I knew that spice flavor and combo would work well with this soup, so that went into my crock pot, and I added in a can of these fire roasted diced tomatoes, and that's kind of getting going here in my crock pot, and I'll add this other stuff to it. Now that my garlic is added in and I have used some water to deglaze the pan, I'm adding this into my crock pot. Now, another thing I am using here to go along with this is this box mix that I picked up at Aldi. This kind of started the whole thing, and then I had some really yummy gumbo when we were in Florida, which I'll be showing you on next week's video, but I already had this box mix. So anyhow, I just started doing some recipe researching and decided to use this box mix, of course, but then to just add to it, which came the roux and some of the other things that you saw. So I cooked this up in the microwave, and then I just added it in, and I had this on low for several hours. This was Super Bowl Sunday, so after we came home from church, I had most of this ready in the morning before we went to church, and then I finished it off this afternoon when we came home. Here is the roux. I made that this morning, but I didn't want to add it in until now. And so yeah, a combo of all of these things to make this really yummy jambalaya.
Hello guys, I know you probably can't see me because I'm holding the camera because the real camera's dead. And I will be in this video, and I'll try to, because the big football game is getting ready to come on.
That's right.
Yeah, right now we're making dinner because our family is going to come over and watch the football game.
All right.
And I want you to be in the video in a little bit.
Okay, and I'm done if you're done.
Okay.
Henry had come home with us after church, and he was doing some camera work for me. So here is the jambalaya all finished up. We thinned it out a couple of times with just a little bit of chicken broth till we got the consistency we wanted, and everyone really enjoyed it. We had a lot of really good comments on it. It was really, really good. A few steps to go through, but worth it. And we just really liked it. So comment below if you make gumbo or jambalaya, and tell us about that in the comments. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got some inspiration. I'll see you the next time. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.